Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of What If Tanjiro Was Sent to the Past. Last time we left off after Tanjiro joining the Demon Slayer Corps and collecting his Nishirin sword from the swordsmith village at the tender age of 5. With everyone caught up, let's begin. After leaving, Tanjiro would go on his first unofficial mission as a Demon Slayer, running to Mount Natagumo, arriving at the foot of the mountain. Being reminded of the putrid smell blinding his senses, despite the smell, Tanjiro continued forth, locating the first of 5 demons on the mountain, the Mother Demon. Easily slicing through the Mother Demon's puppets as if they were never there, arriving before the demon, smelling the scent of sorrow once again emanating from her as she gave into her demise. Using 5th form, blessed rain after the drought, to give her a painless death like in the past. Tanjiro would then run into the Sun Demon and his mutated spider companions. Remembering what Zenitsu had told him about the demon, Tanjiro made sure not to get bitten by the spiders, slicing them up, forcing the Sun Demon to rely on his acid spit. However, Tanjiro easily defended against it, using 8th form, Waterfall Basin, followed up by leaping through the air towards the demon, cleanly slicing through its neck with 1st form, Water Surface Slash, before leaving to fight the other demons. Tanjiro would apologize to the tiny spiders, which were former humans, telling them he doesn't know how to transform them back. However, he sent his crow to inform the Slayer HQ to look into it. Tanjiro would then run into the Father Demon, howling and smashing the ground, tossing debris towards Tanjiro, making use of his brute strength. However, Tanjiro easily dodged the projectiles, forcing the hulking demon to charge at Tanjiro. His offense and existence are soon erased as Tanjiro strikes him with the water-breathing, 4th form, striking tide, severing his neck and cutting him into multiple pieces, easily dispatching him. With only 2 demons left, Tanjiro finds himself watching a familiar scene, Rui yelling and physically abusing his sister demon, complaining about how they are failing to perform their roles as his family. Like usual, Tanjiro confronts Rui for abusing her, flatly declaring that their bond is fake. This shocks daughter, as she has never seen anyone stand up to him, much less a human. Enraged, Rui attempts to slice off Tanjiro's arm with his webs, however Tanjiro easily slashes it with 8th form, Waterfall Basin. Tanjiro then tells him that he is confused on what a family is, yelling that families don't need to be controlled by fear and are held together by love. The complete opposite of his artificial experiment of a family. Enraged, Rui attempts to use his full power blood demon art to slice Tanjiro into hundreds of pieces using cutting thread cage. However, Tanjiro wasn't scared at all, stating that he wanted a good test for this, using 11th form, dead calm, which he had been teaching himself over the last year. Enraged that Tanjiro had cut through his last attack, Rui uses Blood Demon, Murderous Eye Basket to kill Tanjiro. However, his web is destroyed once again by 11th form, Dead Calm. Calling the Demon Slayers a torrent of insignificant lowlifes, Rui attacks Tanjiro with Cutting Thread Rotation, but Tanjiro responds with Total Concentration, Water Breathing, 11th form, Dead Calm. Rui angrily shouts that it doesn't matter what his technique is when his own web of threads is destroyed. Shocked and confused, Rui moves to perform the attack again, but Tanjiro disappears in the moment he had blinked. A moment later, Rui is decapitated. Shocked, the daughter demon attempts to run away, however she is beheaded by 4th form, Striking Tide. Tanjiro would then place his hands on their backs, praying that they find peace in their next lives. Having killed Lower Moon 5, Tanjiro was technically eligible to become the Water Hashira. However, he had another mission to go on before he would accept the role, that being killing Upper Moon 6 Daki and Gyutaro. Upon arriving at the Red Light District, Tanjiro would remove his mask as to not draw attention, since it is unusual to walk around wearing a mask. Despite this, he was still constantly asked if he was lost, since he looks like a child. After searching around for a while, Tanjiro finally found Daki. He would then wait for Daki to be on the outskirts of the village, following her for a few days to do so. When she was, he would put his mask back on and use his thunder breathing technique to attempt to drag her into the forest nearby, by slashing at her neck. However, Daki was unprepared, so her neck didn't turn into obi, and instead, her head was sliced off, so Tanjiro would run into the forest with her head, forcing her beheaded body to follow. Once he was deep enough into the forest where no one else could get hurt, Tanjiro would tell Daki to call her brother out so they can fight. However, Daki would shout that he is ugly and weak so she won't need his help to kill him, noting that he only beheaded her before because she was off guard. She would then use her 8-layered obi slash to attempt to slice Tanjiro into pieces. However, Tanjiro would use water breathing's ultimate defensive technique, dead calm, to effortless slash through the obi, jumping to her using horizontal water wheel, to effortless behead her once again. Like usual, Daki would have a temper tantrum calling for her brother to come out and save her, as Jyutaro unfused himself from her, unleashing a flurry of attacks with his blood sickles. However, Tanjiro blocked it with 8th form waterfall basin. Tanjiro would then get charged by Jyutaro, however he would be able to block all the attacks directed at him, with the defensive techniques of water breathing. Then using the transparent world to predict Jyutaro's next attack, evading it, jumping in the air, using 4th form striking tide to finish Jyutaro, slicing his arms and head off. Tanjiro would then deactivate his mark, looking around to notice that his Haori was damaged and the massive damage done to the forest, making him glad that he moved the fight out of the district. Tanjiro would then spot Daki and Jyutaro fighting with each other as they disintegrate. So he places a hand on both of their mouths, telling them that in this world they only had each other so they shouldn't fight. Removing his hand as Daki cried that she didn't want to die while they both finally disintegrate. He would then be called to return to the Master's mansion for a Hashira meeting where Yubaya Shiki would reveal that Tanjiro had killed lower 5 and upper 6, and as a reward, he will be promoted straight to Hashira, becoming the first Sun Hashira in over 400 years, as well as the first person to kill an upper moon in 106 years. Furthermore, being the youngest Hashira ever and fastest person to reach the rank of Hashira after joining. Tanjiro would then thank the Master and greet the Hashira properly, being invited by Shinjiro to have dinner at his house, with Tanjiro agreeing, wanting to see Rengoku again. After finishing the meeting, talking about missions and demon sightings, Tanjiro and Shinjiro would take their leave, traveling to the Rengoku household, while talking about their families. Upon arriving, Tanjiro would greet Bo, introducing himself to Rengoku's mother, Ruka, however he is swiftly told to stand up straight. She would then tell the two that dinner would be done so they can wash their hands and sit at the table. While waiting, Tanjiro would ask Shinjiro if he may look at the sun-breathing notes in the flame-breathing records. After reading for a few minutes, Roku would come in bringing the meal with the 2-year-old Senjiro on her back and with Rengoku helping to carry the meals. Tanjiro would then thank Roku for the meal, digging in, expressing how delicious the food was. Shinjiro would then properly introduce Tanjiro to everyone, mainly to Rengoku and baby Shinjiro. He would then talk about how Tanjiro became a Hashio in only weeks of joining the organization and is a legendary sun breather. Rengoku would then ask if he was the one he was talking about 3 months ago, who beat him in a fight despite being a child, with Shinjiro confirming it. Tanjiro would then tell them that it isn't really that special and saying that every breathing style is special and powerful in their own ways. After eating, Tanjiro would thank the Roku once again for the meal, volunteering to help take the dishes out, however she would decline, telling him that he is a guest so should rest. Rengoku would then ask Tanjiro to train with him, with Tanjiro agreeing, pointing out mistakes in his footwork and breathing, helping him to improve. After training for a few hours, Tanjiro would thank the Rengokus for their hospitality, and take his leave, returning home for the first time in around 2 weeks. Kamadu would then volunteer to make him a quick dinner, however Tanjiro would tell her that he had already eaten and that she should rest, helping her with the rest of the housework, while also telling his family about his promotion. After spending a week with his family and taking the vocational mission, Tanjiro would tell his family that he has an urgent mission that he needs to take care of, so he will be back in a week, promising to bring gifts again. Tanjiro would then travel to Nogate Town, Toyotama District, Tokyo Prefecture, in the search for Tomioka, as if he is correct, his sister will be attacked by a demon a few days before her wedding, and he would like to prevent that. After searching the village for a day, Tanjiro would finally find Tomoka and his sister Tsukasa Tomoka, commenting on her beauty. He would then follow them, staying on watch during the night and sleeping during the day in an inn using his Hashira paycheck. After waiting for 3 days, the demon would finally strike, attempting to attack the scared Tomoka. However, his sister would jump in the way, telling him to run and hide, and to not look back. However, he was frozen in place. Just before the demon could pierce Tsukasa Tomoka through the chest, Tanjiro would dive into action using striking tide to easily behead the demon. Tanjiro would then ask Tsukasa if she was alright, with her on her knees crying now that the adrenaline had worn off. He would then comfort her, telling her that she can't be sad right now since she and her brother is safe and she has the best day of her life ahead of her. After calming down, Tsukasa would invite Tanjiro to the wedding the following day as thanks for saving them, with Tanjiro agreeing, wanting to see Tomoka happy. After the wedding, Tanjiro would ask Tomoka to join the Demon Slayer Corps so that he can become strong and protect his sister and her new family. With Tomoka asking Tanjiro if he joins, will he become strong like him, with Tanjiro telling him that he will definitely become one of the strongest. With Tomoka agreeing, being sent to train with Urokodaki by Tanjiro. Tanjiro would then travel to Kubashi District, Tokyo. Arriving a bit too late as Shitsu Hinagazawa had already turned demon had burst through the door, sending hundreds of razor-sharp glass shards flying towards Genya and his siblings. However, Tanjiro would arrive at the same time, using flowing dance to deflect them all, protecting the demon, then kicking the demon into the street, where Senami would dive on her, holding her down, telling the mysterious swordsman to behead the creature. With Tanjiro using blessed rain after the drought to do so, killing her, with them only realizing it was their mother after she started to disintegrate. Like usual, Genya would call Tanjiro a murderer, however would stop after realizing that Tanjiro was also crying, knowing that he just killed the mother of his friend, even if she was now a demon. After calming down, Tanjiro would suggest that Senami should become a demon slayer like himself, as he knows he would become one of the strongest. Also telling him that if he does take him up on that offer, his family can stay at his Hashira estate, while he trains. Wanting to protect his family from any future demon attacks, Senami would agree to become a demon slayer, telling Tanjiro that he will become even stronger than him, with Tanjiro simply smiling, telling him that he can't wait for it. He would then escort them to his estate, having the Kakushi prepare rooms for them. After eating with them and apologizing for killing their mother once again, telling them that she is in a better place now, Tanjiro would explain that he has to go now and will be back to visit every now and then. He would then travel to the Paradise Cult Temple, making sure not to get detected by Upper Moon Tudama. Following the stream of the river to search for Inosuke, who had probably just recently lost his born mother. After searching for a few days, using his nose to guide him, Tanjiro finally found Inosuke, chasing a bird while wearing his boar mask. Tanjiro would then introduce himself to Inosuke, however Inosuke wouldn't care and would attempt to attack Tanjiro, however his moves were unrefined and were far too slow to catch Tanjiro, allowing him to tie Inosuke up until he calms down. After the wild boar calmed down, Tanjiro would feed him some food, introducing himself again, asking Inosuke if he would like to become his friend, with Inosuke agreeing since in the woods the strongest animal rules and Tanjiro far outclassed him. Tanjiro would then invite Inosuke to live with his family since he had no living relatives, with Inosuke agreeing, not really knowing what he had meant. Due to having Inosuke, Tanjiro couldn't travel as fast as before, so it took a while to return home, with Tanjiro having to slay 3 demons along the way, exciting Inosuke, who exclaimed that he is going to learn how to fight with the sharp shiny sticks too. After returning home, Tanjiro would get hugged by his whole family, who then asked Tanjiro who the guest is, with Tanjiro explaining that he had no family so he was hoping he could stay with them, introducing him as Inosuke Hashibira, a friend of his. Since kindness runs in the Kamado family, Inosuke is instantly welcomed into the family and after a week started to see Kei Kamado as a mother figure, since she always prepared food for him and taught him anything he didn't understand, such as basic manners and how to read and write. Tanjiro would also teach him the basics of beast breathing from what he remembers, however tells him that he will have to develop a unique style for himself. Tanjiro would then station himself around train stations, searching for Lower Moon 1 and Mu, searching train by train until arriving at the correct train after searching for a month. Unlike usual, Tanjiro had his Slayer mark activated, allowing him to instantly realize he had been placed in a dream and set himself free. Using the 11th form to protect all the passengers, and since Enmu didn't have time to fuse with the whole train, he only had to protect the first 2 carriages, allowing him to easily protect them and slice through the demon's neck using 4th form, striking Tide, Turbulent, eliminating yet another Lower Moon demon. Tanjiro would then spend the rest of the year performing his Hashira duties, playing with his family, visiting the Rengokus for training, visiting Genya and playing with his siblings, and helping Urokodaki to train Sabato and Jiraiya, as well as Mokomo, who survived this time due to being in the same final selection as Tanjiro. On New Year's, Tanjiro would help perform the Hinakami Kagura from sunrise to sunset with his father. Something that he had wanted to do in his past life, however couldn't due to his father's death and his own inability to perform the dance properly. Also this time round, due to Tanjiro's Hashira salary, they could afford a massive feast this year, which Inosuke definitely enjoyed. Tanjiro is now 6 years old, however 22 mentally. In spring of that year, Jiraiya and Sabato would go to final selection, both stronger than in the original, and due to the hand demon already being dead, they both pass, with Sabato protecting everyone on the mountain with no casualties. Tanjiro would then spend the next 4 years perfecting his sword forms and performing his Hashira duties, until the fateful day where his father's health started to rapidly deteriorate. So Tanjiro had requested Atameo to take a look at him, however she could diagnose a reason for the sudden decline in bodily functions, suggesting that it might be due to the mark. So Tanjiro spent the last 3 months of his father's life by his side without going on many missions, unless it was urgent, promising to his father on his deathbed that he will protect their family in his absence, while crying beside the rest of his family, including Inosuke. After helping his family to mourn for another month, Tanjiro would pick up his blade once again, doing twice as many missions as before to make up for the lost time, efficiently slaying demons. On that same year, Kaneo was adopted by the Butterfly Sisters, which doesn't sound right by how old Kaneo looks in the scene, however it mathematically makes sense. After learning that Kaneo had been adopted, Tanjiro made it his mission to make her open up earlier than before, flipping the coin to make her follow her heart as well as spending time with her, doing all the childhood things she couldn't do in her past life, helping her to open up to Tanjiro and then hopefully everyone else in the future. 1 year later, the Hashira were starting to be filled with familiar faces, such as Kani, Chiyomiya Imjima, Jiraiya Tomioka, Sabato, Sanemi Shinazugawa and Tenjin Uzue. In spring of that year, when Tanjiro was 11, Kani Koko, the flower Hashira, was sent on a mission to investigate a demon sighting at the Paradise Faith cult. Remembering this as the mission where Kani had died from Shinobu's story, Tanjiro would attempt to arrive as fast as possible, arriving just in time to use the 11th form Dead Calm to protect Kani from a fatal attack from the Upper Moon 2 demon Dama, as well as dispersing the micro-ice particles in the air, allowing them both to breathe. Sorry to cut this off just as it was starting to get good, however this is the end of this part of What If Tanjiro Was Sent to the Past. If you enjoyed, drop a like, comment any video suggestions, and subscribe with the notification bell enabled. Without further ado, this is Demonic Saiyan saying bye.